Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Grumman Pilot's YouTube channel. And today we're going to talk about the Project Tiger and a bunch of mixed bag of tricks that have been going on around us. But we've been moving forward really quickly on the Project Tiger. Last you saw, the firewall was polished and two things were going on. Now we've taken the motor mount off. We've mounted all the accessories on the engine, and now the engine and the motor mount and everything is now hanging on the airplane. So stay tuned for some more info. So we would like to ask you please subscribe, hit the like button, and hit the notify to stay current with our content. One thing that we haven't made an independent video on is, but all the cabling that's in the firewall forward on this Project Tiger is all going to be loomed, and it's going to be in the flex loom that's braided, but you can open it and get it in and out. So it's going to cover all the cables for you, and it's going to protect them. It's also going to dress up the engine compartment pretty nicely because you can use that for looming all the cables together. There's some of the looming right there on the left. Again, looming all the cables. Yeah, it's attention to detail, but it's going to make a nice, clean, easy to maintain engine compartment that's going to be easy to work on forward in the airplane. And that's why we're taking all this time for this attention, because this is going to be one special airplane, and we're betting money that we could probably beat the AOPA sweepstakes airplane. Another new item on the firewall of the Project Tiger is we've replaced the original electrodata voltage regulator with a plain power 122R. Yeah, 1224R. So it's a 12 volt, 24 volt voltage regulator is now on the Project Tiger, properly grounded, and we've got it all hooked up now using all the cables. And those cables, by the way, are going to be in the looming that we were talked about area. But again, another new item on the firewall of the Project Tiger. And then to kind of join it electrically, we went ahead and we added a Skytech 149 NLR lightweight starter. This is replacing the Kelly Aerospace starter that came on this engine, the roller tapered engine, new back in 2007, and we're not going to be reusing it. It doesn't really have any core value. You can't send it into Hartselle for it to be a core on a lightweight starter, so we're just going to sell it to somebody who wants a nice lightweight starter that won't be a core. But anyway, we have the new lightweight starter on the Project airplane, and that should make starting the airplane a lot nicer now. Now, I have wired air boxes to carburetors when I've had to replace them in the field, like on the ramp at Blue Ash back in the day. But here's Matt joining the air box and the HA6 carburetor, sitting down at a table with good lighting and lots of tools. So I'm kind of jealous because that's the way you really want to do one, and I kind of wish I had gotten to do one like that. My mechanic wired mine up for me with the 2.3JKs back in 2006 when we showed all those videos of us putting the engine back on the airplane. But anyway, it's coming along and looking pretty nice. And as part of working on the firewall, we found out we had a cracked upper bracket, so we changed the upper cowling brackets on the firewall side with new ones. And that was a two-person job, and there's a video out there on there. And my only cautionary tale is that when you're taking the upper cowling off, be sure to release it from the firewall first. That way you won't have that long lever arm of that spine causing cracking in the brackets. You might remember the motor mount being attached to the airplane, and here it is just a couple of days ago when it was there. But we've always found it easier to make the entire engine assembly together. Carburetor, airbox, all the accessories, motor mount. In this case, we even did the baffle seals, and we decided that we're not going to do that in future airplanes. But it makes it really nice when you can build all this up on the stand, and then you just grab it with the hoist, and you attach the 4 bolts on the motor mount. And that's what we're doing with the Project Tiger. So here it is, having all the bits of it attached on the back, hanging from the hoist over the truck, and that includes the carburetor and the air box and all the other stuff. So it's hanging there, and now from there it will be lifted, and we will go ahead and be attaching it to the firewall of the Project airplane. Now that's going to be with the AN6-21 bolts. Now those are drilled so you can get a cotter pin in them. And then we're going to be doing the motor mounts again with the new AN7 -44As. So anyway, we're going to be having that. So anyway, new motor mount bolts coming in. Now there's nothing wrong with the ones that are on the Project Tiger. they're just ugly, as Matt says. They don't look shiny and new like everything else. And, considering that the motor mount bolts and the mounts for the extrusions, we're looking at $60 of bolts, all shiny and new. The old ones are good and serviceable. So if you're looking for some good used bolts, give me a call. I know who you are. Again, give me a call. Now, just yesterday, we got to hang the engine back on the airplane again. And here's Dave Harris coming to admire our work. But, it's hung back on there. We're going to be changing out the extrusion bolts, and we're going to be changing out the motor mount bolts that we talked about just momentarily. But we wanted to get it back on the airplane so that we can start continuing with the process. Now we can start collecting all the baffle seals and everything. But in the meanwhile, we're attaching all the hoses and getting all the cables routed to finish up that part. Now on the carburetor, where the fuel hoses go, we removed those connectors to check to make sure that everything was clean and shiny inside, and we put them back in with new crushed gaskets. By the way, if you're interested, that's a -11 or a 900-10, whichever way you want to reference it, by MS or AN number. I really like the idea that owner-produced parts can be 3D printed parts, especially for the plastic step peg plugs. You need 4 of them on the airplane. We've made a set for the Project Tiger, and here they are. We'll be taking them out to the airport, and we'll be putting them in. And they're not hard to install at all. Standard techniques, a little RTV to hold them in, and a pop rivet on the bottom so it can't drop out. And for those of you who are interested in 3D printers, my neighbor bought a 3D printer on an auction site, and she came to me for a file, and I gave her the step pegs. She printed one, didn't think it was very interesting, so she found Gollum's head as an STL file on the internet and set it on fine resolution and printed it out and presented that to me the other day, along with the bag of the step plug pegs we just looked at. It's funny how things happen when you're working on a project like this. Matt and I are looking at the Project Tiger. We're going, the flex bolts on it look really ugly. So I grabbed a set. I threw them in the box of parts to be installed. Matt did the same thing, and then he probably did it again, because we found the other day when we went to install the new flex bolts on the main landing gear, guess what? We had 3 pairs. Well, we only need 1 pair, so the other 4 are now on the GPA website. The company store have those back in stock. So if you want them, get an order. Now, I'm sure this one will make you chuckle, but, in the Project Airplane, as we were taking out the air box and everything to make it easier to work on the panel and do some of this firewall forward work, this is the bad air vent that's in there. The vanes don't work really well. The chrome is coming off, though it does rotate 360 degrees, which the new ones do not do. But anyway, this vent, it's going to go into the trash, not going to be reused. We're even going to put the air boxes back on with more hardware, and we're going to get plastic hole plugs to replace the rusty steel ones that are in there now. So you can wave bye-bye to that old original plug. Forget the original number on the air vents. By the way, if you're ever working on the air vent and you take the air vent out, be sure to clean inside the air vent. And if you ever take the air vent down, take all that dirt off the top. No sense carrying that extra weight around. And then here's what the new air vents look like, and we have a video out on them. Probably have several videos, including the installation of them and techniques for installing them. But anyway, they're nice, good vents that get a good cabin flow. Now, the louver on the back, that rounded oval duct, what that does is that makes the air in our louvers, it makes the air turn straight and head for the duct, so that it won't, when the louvers ever start to wear down the road, then the air coming in from a slanted angle won't be forcing the shut left or right. So this way they'll have a good service life to them. So anyway, that's what the new air vents look like, folks. Now, I know a lot of us are upgrading with modern equipment in our panels, and Rich Harrison sent me this. He had ordered a couple of UAVionics to go in his airplane. Well, they finally came in, and he had already had all the plumbing wired in on the back and all, so they had become alive. And then he went ahead and finished the installation, including all the electrical, did a systems check, and there they are. They're alive, and his Project Yankee is coming along, and that was one of the ones that Ken and Grant worked on many years ago. Now, in the last episode of Hangar Flying, I mentioned that Rich Harrison had provided me with a picture of 40 years ago last week. He had bought the Bumblebee. Well, sorry to say that I left out John Papio. Here's a picture of John Papio's Traveler. It's his second airplane, and he's owned it 44 years this year. Not a bad stance, and he's gotten a lot of good use out of that airplane, and it's in really good shape. And then last weekend when we were at the airport, we were able to finally do the new AD 2021-14-22 and make a video of it for doing the horizontal stabilizer inspection, the tap test, looking inside for corrosion around the ribs, using a skin knife to see if you can get underneath and break the glue. You don't want to push too hard, but you want to make sure that it's a good solid thing. And then if you do find a problem, it's a simple matter of ordering a service kit and going on from there. We also had to take our last overhauled fuel sender and send it off to a customer who needs it. Fletch Air's out, and Air Parts of Lock Haven didn't have any to re-overhaul. So look and make sure you've got good cores that we're checking on. And so we did a video what to look for, but then we showed how to orient the gasket and everything. So be careful with the ones you have. And the thing that hurts our fuel senders more than any other thing that people do is there's a lot of frugal pilots out there who think that, oh, you know what, I'm not going to keep my fuel tanks full. I'm only going to have 5 or 6 gallons in each side. That way nobody's going to want to come steal my gas. Well, that exposes the fuel sender to rust, and it will rust, and that will make it probably unserviceable. And the core value on these is about I think it's about $165 to $200 last I heard, and the overhaul fee is about $350. So if you've got one that you can buy, well then go ahead and buy it, but make sure you have a good core, because if not, the shop's going to have to charge you for the core value, which I think is $165 to $200. I'll have to check with Fletch Air. But anyway, that's your fuel senders. Hey, I know in the last episode I said that Lucy was a border collie. She's actually an Australian Shepherd. And here she is playing with Matt in the hangar, refusing the name Shop Puppy. She's going to stick with Lucy, she says. So that's what she's going to be. So enjoy this little bit of Shop Monkey and Lucy playing on the floor of the hangar. And while we're on the entertainment section of episode of Hangar Flying, this is me doing a vault from out of my chair into the bed and then back into the chair. It doesn't look like much, but it was 6 months of physical therapy, and it was a couple of weeks of intense training and practice before I could do that. I mean, up until that point, it was Luann had to get the Hoyer lift, and I had to sit on a sling all day long so that when she got home, she could grab me in the chair and put me in bed. And then if I wanted to get back up or get back down again, she always had to be involved. This way I can get up and go back to bed however I want all day long with no worry on her. So that's all physical therapy. And I'll say, folks, if you're ever injured, be sure to go get some physical therapy, because you'll be well worth it for it. Now here's the same maneuver, and we're doing this at half speed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's called a vault because, believe it or not, I'm putting pressure on the bottom of my feet, and my legs are being used because they can't get out of the way, and so they have to hold my body up. And then it's a matter of using a little upper body arm movement and a little twisting action in my core to land where I want to. So that's why it's called a vault. And not hard to do. It's kind of like a little bit like pole vaulting. And again, and all the times that we did this, I think it was only in the first week when we were practicing at home where I had one vault going into bed one night where I missed. But because of the physical therapy training I'd been getting, I knew how to gracefully collapse into a pile onto the floor with my legs in the right orientation and be able to call Luann and get the Hoyer lift and get the sling underneath me and get me out. So believe it or not, being able to move like this is a great plus. the next trick is to learn how to transfer into the car. We have hand controls for it, and I'm going to be learning how to drive again, and with a set of hand controls, so I'll be able to get myself into the vehicle, get out of the vehicle, and be able to go where I want to go, mainly to the airport. And if that doesn't work out, I guess I'm going to buy a roto exec and learn how to fly myself in a helicopter to the airport. So that's a little bit about where my training is. So there's a look behind the veil for you. Now we're finishing up the blue lifetime hoses on the Project Tiger, and we had some we ordered for one of our customers, and we've ordered one more hose today. But part of the blue lifetime hoses, you know, the cost have been changing so much that we actually did the complex matrix math on it to find out how much a hose will cost per inch, and then you have to consider the two stainless steel connectors that are on either end. And what I think we basically derived from all of our work was that for $58.55, that pays for the two end connectors, and then for the blue lifetime Teflon hoses, you're going to want to spend $4.50 an inch for a hose. So if you need a 20-inch hose, it's going to be $90 plus the fittings. And then if you're doing a number 4 hose, not the number 6s, you can figure about $4.10 an inch, and that's about the same amount for the connectors. So that's just trying to get a handle on the lifetime hoses that we're recommending for people. The blue lifetime looked pretty good. We did have a customer one time request all the oil hoses in the engine compartment to be brown and all the fuel hoses to be blue, so he'd know which ones were which. The brown is a little bit cheaper, but you know, I know their price has gone up, and we're looking at about $10 an inch now for the blue lifetime hoses. But when you consider that you're going to spend about $8 an inch for an Aeroquip or a Strataflex hose, and then it's going to expire in 10 years, you're going to have to buy it again. Yeah, I know you're getting hosed on the price of these hoses today, but still, all things considered, it's a good deal considering that these hoses, from the day that you put them on the airplane, they're on condition. So until they fail, they're a good hose. So get a set for your airplane, and you won't have to worry about your hoses anymore. They stay nice and flexible, and your mechanic can put them on. It does not take long at all. On another note, going through one of our parts cabinets looking at used stuff the other day, we had a request for an Aeroflash flash tube for the wingtip strobes, and I didn't think we had one, so I had Matt go look, and we found a new old stock one in a box from back in the day when you could buy them from Aircraft Spruce. Now, for those of you who are looking for them, they are getting hard to come by, and I don't think I have any more. But for general ballpark reference, a used strobe is about $75 for the tube, and the last I heard, a power supply was about $100 for the power supply. So if you can find them, get them, and I don't think we have any more. But anyway, this is what the Aeroflash tube looks like, and we did a video on that for those of you who might be trying to find one. So stay tuned for more information. And this arrived in the mail today on Thursday. It's a Bloomlotti smart bracelet user's manual in the box, and I'm actually wearing the bracelet, and it's pretty nice because it allows it to monitor 24/7 blood pressure, temperature, pulse rate, blood oxygenation level, and a few other metrics in there. So it'll tell me when I need to sleep. It'll tell me how much I sleep. The one function I won't be using is counting how many steps I go in a day. But anyway, this is just a way of us keeping track of like when I have a temperature and what was it. Now, I'm not making an ad for buying this particular model of smartwatch, but the nice thing about it is it talks to my phone, and that way when I go to therapy or go to the doctor's office, I can display a day, a week, a month graph of all the above, my blood pressure, my temperature, everything going on. So we'll have a better track and record to present to the doctor so we can find out what's going on. And then in closing, here's a little funny story for you. We have a customer who bought one of our Grumman Pilot's insulated coffee mugs, and he's determined that he has a bad habit that when he goes to the airplane, he sets it on the wing root, ends up getting in the airplane on the pilot side, and then when he starts the airplane, guess what goes flying in the prop wash? He is happy to tell me that it will spill all your coffee, but it will not harm the mug. And by the way, according to YouTube, we have crossed the 1,200 video mark. I believe this video right here is going to be 1,205 in their current count. And we've also started adding chapters. So if you want to fast forward through one of our videos, you can just hit fast forward one notch. It'll take you to the next chapter in the video. So ladies and gentlemen, we hope you found everything in this episode of Hangar Flying useful and informative. Thanks for watching, and have a great day flying your Grumman. You know, forget buying expensive toys for your kittens and cats. We find that just taking the aircraft spruce box and the paper on the tile floor is more than enough amusement for them for hours.